myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. My name's Steve Wraith.
I'm Malcolm MacDonald.
And I'm John Gibson.
Welcome along to NUFC Matters, where we talk about the week that has just passed with Newcastle United. And I'm glad to say, lads, we were all right last week.
We all said Newcastle win.
We all did. We all predicted a win. Not the exact scoreline, but a win's a win, and we're all happy.
Absolutely. 2 wins on the bounce. All of a sudden, the sun's out and it's November, but the sun's out.
A good performance, Malcolm?
For the last hour,
Yeah.
yes. The first half an hour, dear me. They looked all over the place. Bournemouth looked a very good side, but it's the old adage in football: when you're on top, you've got to stick the ball in the net, and they didn't do it enough.
They only did it the once.
Yes.
I mean, the good thing for me was seeing, Malcolm, that there was some spirit in the Newcastle side.
Oh, terrific spirit.
One down,
Yeah.
and win 2-1 and have to battle to do it.
The spirit's rising all the
Yes,
while,
it is.
isn't it?
Yes.
It's
Yes, it is.
increasing.
Yes, absolutely.
But
And we must say, because we hopefully told it the way it is throughout the whole of the season, but we must stress that the players, for me anyway, they are playing for Steve Bruce.
Yeah.
There's no question about that, because you can see the spirit in the side.
Yes.
And so you've got to, if you're going to point out what's wrong, you've got to point out what's right as well.
Of course you have. Yes.
And I think they are playing for him, and it was a good result. Although, being Geordies, we don't get too far carried away, because we know
Some do.
Well, yes, some do, but there's a smack in the mouth waiting just around the corner. There always is.
Yes. I also would like to congratulate the referee, because on Yedlin's goal, I thought that within the rules as they stand, I thought he handled the whole thing ever so well. I think that Mike Riley, who is in charge of the referees union and association, I think he's got it dreadfully wrong. He is stopping the referees from going across where there's a screen and watching the replay and making the decision for themselves all the time. They're having to listen in their ear. It's no good for the massive crowd that's there in the stadium. They're all on tenterhooks. The players, and Yedlin, I thought his goal was absolutely fabulous. The way he took it.
But he couldn't celebrate it.
And he couldn't celebrate it. That's right.
You know, it's a rarity for a full-back to score goal at St James's.
Sure.
He's walking away. He knows VAR's going to look at it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to look an idiot by running down the pitch celebrating, so he doesn't. And by the time, in eternity, they say, the goal's okay. Too late.
Sure.
Spoiling the spontaneity of the game.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the referee could have sorted it in a matter of seconds, just gone across, said, I want to see the replay, have a look at the replay, and he would have said goal. And the reason that he would have said it is that, bless him, he was not offside. And the reason for that was, and I had to watch it a couple of times just to get it right, but when St Maximin crossed the ball, a defender looked to block it, and so they struck the ball together, but the ball went over the defender's foot, and so it technically came off a defender. And so it didn't matter about offside whatsoever. But the way he came in, he was a rocket. coming through,
Quite
wasn't he?
incredible, quite incredible.
And of course, the other goal was scored by another defender.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, I worked it out. It's absolutely crazy. The Newcastle scoring chart at the moment shows defenders 7, attackers 1. 7 of Newcastle's goals have come from defenders, the back 5 or whatever you like, and 1 from an attacker, Joe Linton, at Spurs. Now that's absolutely incredible. And of course you worry because Geordie's worry by nature. What you worry is that the biggest certainty is that your central defenders aren't going to continue scoring. It doesn't happen. You don't do that because their job is they're only going to go up for set pieces, etc. Now, when they stop scoring, other front three are going to start scoring because you need goals from there. And to be truthful, and I've been very critical of the lack of goals from the front three, but I thought the Saint and Almiron did a huge amount of work against Bournemouth and getting us up the pitch quickly because of their pace.
I would agree.
Absolutely. And they were absolute workhorses. And the finishing, Malcolm, was like it always is. I mean, for me, it was summed up when Maximin goes over the goalkeeper, falls flat on his face, leaving Almiron with a shot at goal closer in, and what's he do, bless him? He hits the Saint who's lying on the floor. Does that sum up the look of the front three?
This will be the Almiron that's just scored for Paraguay again tonight.
Yeah, so you were saying this is
2 goals in 2 games in his internationals. Can it hit a barn door in a black and white shirt?
No,
it's amazing.
No, but he can hit Maximin.
Yeah.
Oh yes, he can do, can't he?
Yeah.
Mind his backside does look like a barn door, doesn't it? In all fairness. No, he is a muscular lad, I have to say.
Yeah.
I thought they did work ever so hard, the 2 white people, the 2 white guys on Saturday, ever so hard.
Yes.
And you've got to give them credit for that.
But John, I think I really think that Steve Bruce is causing a problem for these 3 guys. He's got the 2 wide men so wide that they're not in contact with Joe Linton.
That's the biggest problem. Joe Linton hasn't got somebody playing close to him, and really he could do with that to get the best out of him. But
somebody's got to be.
By the way, this is our tactical genius you're talking about. This is just giving us 2 wins back to back.
Yeah, you can't.
5.
You've got to praise him. You've got to give him some praise.
And what we went up to 13th and how many wins have we had so far? I mean, all of a sudden the sun's out and it's turned out to be a nice all day. What is worrying, and I'm with you completely, what is worrying because having seen so much disappointment over the years, you just think if Newcastle got the wrong result at Aston Villa a week on Monday, if they did, and it's an away game, and then they got beat by Man City the following week, then the whole picture has changed over again.
Back into it.
I'm trying to accentuate the positives here and try to look at it and say, well, look, let's just enjoy the wins while we can.
You're absolutely right, and you're absolutely right. And there were positives, and that is terrific to see and to watch. And,
yes, and Newcastle, they're 7 points clear. When the team that's 7 points behind, Watford, when they're looking up, 7 points is an Everest of a mountain to climb.
No, you're right, 100%.
And the interesting thing is we've got coming up very shortly, of course, home to Southampton, and you've got to...
Big games keep coming.
That is massive, because if Newcastle win that, and they ought to do, then they're condemning Southampton to be down there with possibly, I don't know, who do we think? Watford and Norwich.
A few weeks ago I did say I couldn't see teams, 3 teams worse than Newcastle, but as always happens, games are played, you look at it now and you're seeing, Norwich are down there, we're seeing Watford down there, Watford. Southampton. I think we talked earlier off screen about Sheffield United, could they do a Huddersfield, get off to a fantastic start, and then the second half of the season, people seem to work out how you play.
By the way, that's in a couple of games.
It could happen.
They're up next with us.
It could happen.
We go to Villa, we're home to Man City, then we've got Sheffield United, and then we've got Southampton.
We've had a couple of...
Sheffield United, it's a strange kick-off.
Yeah, well,
it's
they
a
all
Thursday night.
It's a Thursday night.
Monday night for Aston Villa. The fans are always thought about last in this scenario. Couple of points already. Azzy Brown says, Almira on goal for Paraguay, lads. Thanks very much, mate. Yeah, we knew that. John Ball, evening, lads. Who do you think should be the 3 centre-backs going forward in the rest of the season? Which is a good point to make because
question.
Jamal Lascelles is now out until next year,
Yes,
2020.
It's a long layoff for him, isn't it?
Yes, he is.
So-
I think,
And it's sad, but
So who would be
It
the
is,
3
but-
centre-halves for you,
well,
John, first,
we're,
and then
we're
you, Malcolm?
We're fortunate that it is central defenders because we're so well off there. And if you think recently, Fernandez, Clark and Dummett have all come in who are not first choice
Yeah.
centre-halves, have
Yes.
all come in and done exceptionally well. And we have
and
Shaw,
look very organised together
yes.
as a group.
and have Shaw about to come back and Lejeune about to come
Yeah.
back. So really we're more than well off. It's just a
Yes.
matter of what 3 you pair at Villa because is Shaw and Lejeune there, you put them both together. They would
Yeah.
be in my first choice
Yeah.
side when fully match fit and match sharp. There you risk them after layoffs together
Yeah.
at Villa. Or do you go Fernandez, Clark moved to central when Lascelles went off and don't
Yeah.
come on.
Yes.
So I think we're well covered. It
We
isn't
are.
a problem.
Right. I do like Dummett on that left side of the 3. It balances the whole thing up. And
Yeah.
and of course, I can't see how we can do without Kieran Clark. He's the top leading
He's a
goal
top
scorer. at the
he's a
moment.
top goal scorer.
Yeah.
He's done fantastically well. He's
done-
been a great servant. I
He
think we've
is.
mentioned it on the show
I
before.
think
He's never
I think
let
his
us.
attitude is
He's never let us
brilliant.
down, has
And
he?
it's got him back into the Republic side, of course,
Yes.
Of course.
which is terrific.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
great. Because he does deserve that, because
Yeah.
he's never caused the club an ounce of problems.
No.
And as Malcolm said, he's never let us down, but he's
Never.
gone out of the side again,
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
when other people have become fit. But he's done
To the
good for us.
point where he's not just out the side, but all of a sudden he's out the squad.
Yeah.
And yet I can just picture him in training giving it absolutely everything.
Here's an interesting question.
Go
We're
on.
saying who do we play
Yeah.
as the 3 central defenders, but let's take, because of Lascelles coming up, but let's take it a step forward as well. Who should skip us now, Lascelles?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Steve Bruce seems to go for experience, doesn't he? I mean, he seems to have given Shelby a chance. He's come back in and taken it.
Yeah.
Kieran Clark's come back in. For me, I've always been a strong advocate of defenders being, the leader and the captain.
Yeah.
I think they see more of the game, apart from the goalkeeper, of course. Maybe it's Kieran Clark, would be somebody who you could go.
Or Lejeune, if he's coming into the side.
Yeah.
Shaw, for me,
And then
would be a good
Shaw
captain
again, yeah.
if he was inside.
Yeah.
And of
Lascelles isn't a
course,
good captain for me. I've got to be honest. I don't see him when the chips are down.
I don't think Shelby's an actual
when
captain.
we're
I
winning.
don't think he's been comfortable for some while.
No, I would agree.
And I
Yeah.
don't think Shelby's a natural captain. Of course, one of the guys that has had the armband, apart from Shelby, when Lascelles has gone out in the past, has been Dummett.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had the armband on a few occasions.
Yeah, Shelby's too moody.
Yeah,
to
I
be a
don't think he's
skipper.
a natural leader. I mean, I would probably, it's only personal choice, I would probably give it to Shaw if I knew he was fit and he was going to be in the side. But if Dummett did it, I would be
Who's
more
going to
than
be back
happy with that.
first, Shaw or
Well, with this
Lejeune?
break-off, I mean, Lejeune's available now, but he's, when did he last play?
Yeah, sure.
Back in
Yeah.
He's been out.
How long's it
for
gonna
a
take him to
long,
get
long
match fit?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think for me, Steve Bruce will go for experience. I think if Shelby is still in the team, he might give it to Shelby. But be an interesting call. It's certainly
He
an
might
interesting call.
do it as a way of
See,
giving him a boost again, Shelby. You know?
I watched Shelby, and for the first half an hour, Newcastle were absolutely awful. And Shelby, he was going into nothing positions all the while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, after about half an hour, he started to get into more positive positions. He started to push forward, and things started to happen.
The interesting thing, Malcolm, is when we go to Aston Villa with Shelby trying to establish himself again, and then after that game, when Man City come here, that's when Bruce has got a decision to make whether he brings Longstaff, Sean Longstaff, back in
yeah.
after his suspension, or whether he sticks with Shelby.
Yeah.
So Shelby needs to play Monday at Aston Villa, needs to do well
Yeah, he
from
does.
a personal point of view.
Yeah. Who is the best player to play alongside Shelby? Because I don't think it's Hayden. In fact, I'm going to be brutally frank. I'm just not rating Hayden whatsoever at the moment.
I know you don't.
And I hear a lot of supporters around, and they'll go, "Oh, Hayden's terrific, Hayden's this and Hayden's that," and I'm watching, and I'm saying, "Well, what is it they're seeing? Because I can't see it. I don't see it."
The interesting thing is that come January, Steve Bruce is talking about wanting to buy a midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah, and Xhaka, of course, from Arsenal, who's been put in the frame. I mean, I think that's probably way out of our financial remit. But
yes, I would think he's out.
Let's talk about it. January's on the horizon.
Both
Very
in
much
fee and in wages,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure I'd even want to touch Xhaka because he seems to me to have had a bit of a mental meltdown.
Yeah.
Steve, I think
And you've
Steve
got to be
Bruce is the
careful in
one
situations
Steve
like
Bruce
that.
is the one that fancies him, and is talking about doing it as a loan deal in January, or attempting to do it as a loan deal. I've got a feeling the kid might want a club permanently.
Yeah.
I mean, AC Milan are supposed to be very, very big on taking him.
Right.
The Bundesliga he could go to because he was a star in Germany.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Newcastle angle is that Bruce has got into him via Shaw, because Shaw's international skipper
Yeah.
with Switzerland.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
he's got into him.
There's a
via-
connection there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And he's probably relying on Shah to give him the info and the rundown on him. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not certain that I would be thrilled at him coming to Newcastle.
No.
I don't know.
Got another point here on Facebook. Michael Graham said, unless they get VAR right and quick, they'll kill the game. We didn't know whether to celebrate or not in the Gallagher. Also, the stadium needs to communicate with the fans via the advertising hoardings, etc. We were all just looking at each other.
Yes.
And that's another valid point, because all we have is one big screen
Yeah.
up in the Gods and the Leazer's end. Nobody else who's of a certain level in the Gallagher, for example, can see that screen.
It's killing the game
it
at
is.
the moment.
Well, it's
really,
killing the game in every
It's
ground.
causing so much frustration.
But in Newcastle in particular, there just seems to be a complete lack of, what's going on or understanding.
I
Had
don't
it
think
the
it's
other
just
week.
the Newcastle. I think
It's not. No.
generally
But I mean,
around
we
the
don't
game.
have a vast amount of screens.
No.
So I think what Michael's
no,
trying
that's
to
right.
what
There's
Michael's
one,
trying to
isn't
say
there?
is,
one
you know,
big screen, and that's only available to
Yeah.
to what, about 2/3 of the crowd.
instead of promoting this naff sports brand, they could maybe put the VAR thing on one of the advertising hoardings at the bottom. I mean, certain naff sports advertisers aren't paying for the advertising.
Well, there you go. That's opened up another whole.
It has,
can of
aye,
worms,
exactly. You notice I never see it.
No, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Tell Magpie
Yes.
Ross says, please tip us to lose against Villa. It has a reverse effect. Great show, by the way. Thanks, Tell. Thank you very much. Let's look at the...
I take the point.
Yeah, let's look at the under-23s now. It happened just after our last show. Neil Redfern departed. We all know that he's had some kind of disagreement with somebody else at the club.
Yes.
As usual, complete radio silence from the club. We don't really know what's gone on.
Yeah.
We just know we're now looking for a new under-23s manager. Ben Dawson, of course, who's running the operation at the club now. He stepped up and away from the 23s.
Yes, he did. He had them last season. He's
Yeah.
now dropped back in until an appointment is made.
Yeah, so Redfern's gone. Who's going to come in, John, do you think?
Great question. I noticed that Steve Bruce said that he would like an input into who comes in. I can understand that in as much as that's what old-fashioned managers in the past have done. I'm not a big advocate of that, because when that happens, when you get, I'm not talking about Steve Bruce in particular, I'm talking about any manager. When he starts appointing the staff way down to that sort of level as well, and often the juniors, then it all changes when he goes. When he gets a sack, he takes all his mates with him, and the whole place is cleaned out. I don't think that's at all right for the club, and I think the under-23 manager ought to be in place and stay in place regardless of what happened.
And then in turn he be in contact with Steve Bruce.
Oh, totally. Yeah, the link's there. But you know, when you get Rafa going, you don't want your under-23 manager and the kid, the guy that's doing the juniors. I remember Steve Gibson at Middlesbrough was the first that said to his managers, and he was very supportive of all his managers. He's
very
excellent,
very
man.
supportive.
But he always said to the manager coming in by the way, the strength of our club is our academy, and that is not interfered with.
Yes.
The coaches are appointed by the club, etc., etc. And therefore, I would hate it to be just a managerial appointment. It's
And I understand that, because I think that managers, they're probably better sticking to the senior game and letting the people who know that junior level.
Yeah.
I mean,
And let them get on with it, and and they're poles apart. You know, you have to work in such different style and fashion with the kids.
The interesting thought about, because who would get the job? Goodness gracious me, we never know who's going to get the first team job.
No.
When it's available, never mind who's going to get the reserve.
Yeah.
But just the sort of person I could see being interested and has a Newcastle United background, etc., etc., just throwing balls in the air is Lee Clark, whose kid is one of the top kids in the juniors.
Yes.
Clark has got a great Newcastle United background, and he wants to get back into full-time soccer. He's at Blythe, etc., etc., but he needs to be in full-time, and he's been around a lot of clubs. Someone like him might well be interesting.
I mean, there's talk about him being in the running previously, but obviously the opted for Neil Redfern.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
For me, the most important coaching appointment is the person who looks after the under-18s. It is the most important coaching appointment that a manager can make. And I recall when I was managing Fulham that I needed a U-team coach, and I went to Colchester and I got Ray Harford. And I said, Ray, I know that you're an assistant manager, but what I'd like you to do, we've got a lot of really good kids. I'd like you to coach the kids for a season and then rise with them.
Go through the age group stages with them.
Yes. And in fact, because about half a dozen jumped into the first team, he came into the first team as well. And it left me in the position of having to sack somebody. And it was just one of those, you know, that's how it works, I'm afraid, that there are comings and goings.
Well, football's a ruthless game.
Yes, and you can't be soft in situations like that.
Absolutely not.
And so Ray, he became the first team coach, and he had half the kids that he'd been working for a whole season with, and the whole thing just absolutely blossomed from there, because the other half of the side were good experienced players like Ray Lewington and Peter Simon and what have you, and it all really started to happen, and it was good, exciting stuff, and so there's got to be a connection, but it doesn't mean that the manager has to create it.
No.
Yeah.
The Mexican taco over has continued over the last 7 days as well. Is there a takeover in the offing, John? Have you got any inside knowledge from the corridors of power at the Chronicle?
I think you should just pass me that butterfly net in the corner and see if I can catch the pink pig that's flying past the window at the moment. Because, I mean, I must admit, it's rather a contradiction, because I was going to say all the takeover talk leaves me cold.
Yeah.
And why it's a contradiction is because I'm desperate for a takeover to happen.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not knocking it. I'm suggesting that the more you hear about it, the less chance there is of that particular takeover happening.
Yeah.
And to be truthful, you know, I'll believe it when it happens and when it's announced. And I get very uncomfortable when people start leaking things, saying why they should take over or how they're going to take over.
When it's publicly leaked, you know that there's nothing going to... Yeah, there's nothing in it.
It's frustrating, as I say, but we have to mention it.
Oh, totally, yeah. And fans, I think, feel like I feel, Steve, that they would love to believe it. They're desperate for a takeover, but as cynical as it's possible to be, when you keep reading about people, that you're left with the feeling that they're publicity seekers, the people that's trying to take over, and they're milking it as much as they can for the short period they can before their bubble bursts, and it's obvious it's not going to happen, and then out. But they've got a lot of publicity in the meantime.
Yeah, of course they have.
And I can't help but be cynical about these situations. That
we're all the
suddenly
same.
they hit the press, and no business has actually taken place.
Yeah.
And it's all good publicity for everybody involved, but it's not helping Newcastle United out whatsoever.
No, not at all. Obviously, there's a live game tonight. England international,
indeed.
and I hate the international breaks. Not a fan of them at all.
Do you think that Southgate has been somewhat harsh?
Oh, the Sterling situation.
Very interesting.
On Sterling.
I mean, and I was going to come to you, which I'll do in a minute, man, but my first thoughts about that, two things. First of all, if England were playing in the final of the Euros, which will happen next year, in the final, they got to the final and they're playing the final, and Sterling shook a colleague round the neck, would he ban him for a game? Would he drop him from a game that was really important? I mean, the side they're playing, Montenegro, the side they're playing tonight, Montenegro, are so bad they've never won a qualifying game. You can afford to leave Sterling out and still get a result.
Yeah.
But would you leave him out of a massive, massive game,
but
voluntarily leave him out? And secondly, and you know much better, I've been close to the club and you've been literally inside the club. I mean, these things of players' spats on 10 a penny.
Yeah, of course they are.
You tell tales of you and Hibbie. Wolves or wherever it was.
Yeah.
We've had Big Alan Shearer and Keith Gillespie at each other in Dublin when they were in a pub.
And if they don't happen, I'd be worried.
Yeah, and Keith Gillespie.
Because you want players on a high level of tension all the while.
Keith tells the story now when he does talkings and is quite happy and is quite close to it.
Of course.
They're nothing new.
And there is a much better way to deal with it. Players will always have spats. They can play together on a Saturday afternoon. Come Monday morning in training, they're kicking each other to bits.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
so there's always going to be
I'm not certain Southgate did a good thing by making such a public stand.
I agree with you.
It got leaked out,
totally.
I think, as well. I don't think Southgate made it public.
He didn't, but he'd made all those decisions.
Of course.
But it was public when Sterling
get out.
Was left at.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think the only time, Steve, that I get concerned about players, say, squaring up to each other or something, is when it happens on the pitch.
Boya.
When Dyer and Boya did it on the pitch.
Yes.
That is ludicrous.
Completely
it's in the middle of a game and it's unprofessional.
Yes. Totally unprofessional.
But having a bit of bunny in the dressing room and it getting serious.
And having a bit of a kicking spat on the training field.
That happens.
These things happen.
I don't think it's a big deal.
England will get through tonight, of that there's no doubt, and then probably go crashing out on penalties next year.
There's no doubt about that.
Love your confidence.
Darren Doss Woodmass says, where will Richie fit in the team when he's fit?
Great question, because I've always been a Richie fan in terms of his work ethic and his attitude, both of which I think are absolutely first class.
Yeah.
But Williams, after getting off to a bad start in his position, left side midfield, wing back if you like, getting off to a bad start. Remember when he played the ball back and they hit the pass and they scored Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On open day. Got off to a very bad start. Has done very, very well.
He has.
So that there's going to be a problem of where he gets in. Will he get in immediately? Will he get in for Williams? Doubted. Will he get in for one of the two wide people? Because he was originally a winger up front. But he's not going to replace the Saint at the moment, is he?
No, he isn't. But you can put him on the other side and leave Almiron out.
First name on my team sheet at this moment in time, a fully fit Richie, 100%, because he brings so much to the team. Work rate. It's a nice problem to have.
But
it's a good question.
But although he's left-footed, he's equally effective either on the right or the left.
Well, Almiron is not really a right-sided player.
Not really.
He plays the left.
Plays the left,
normally.
2 points on the 23s here. Stephen Walker says Newcastle should have a strategy from the under-23s down to the kids, and in the long run we will have some good players coming through, which is a good point. We also have another question here, well, another statement really from Tell Magpie Ross. He said, what about Michael Carrick? would he be interested in the coaching role at Newcastle in the 23s? It's a good.
I mean, I would love
Be a
him to
great
be,
shout.
but he's the number one coach
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Manchester United with the first team.
That's right. He's with the first
So I
team.
don't think he's going to.
I think
that-
I think Brushy might go closer to home. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there, a lot of ex-players, a lot of the entertainers era, who've all got their coaching badges, who are all just looking and waiting for that opportunity. And a lot of them are good friends with Steve Bruce, socialise with him. But, might be. You mentioned Lee Clark. I think Clarkey will be loyal to Blythe, I've got to be honest, but there may be one or two others who are out there. We'll see. Steve Harper could be going to Stoke, with Michael O'Neill, that's been talked about, but he would love an opportunity. I know he's a goalkeeping coach as well, but
he would
he'd
like
love
to
the
be a
opportunity to
coach.
be a manager,
An
coach,
overall
whatever.
coach, yeah.
You just don't know, do you?
Yes, yeah. No, you don't. I mean, it's anybody's guess, but there's plenty of possibilities without a shadow.
Yes.
So we're not going to do a show next week because of the international break and the way it goes. So we'll look ahead now to Villa coming up, and it is. I know we've done well and we've climbed up the table, but it is still a proverbial 6-pointer. It's on.
Without a shadow of doubt.
It's an 8 o'clock. It's an 8 o'clock kick-off on a Monday night, so everybody else will have played. Gives us a couple of extra days to prepare.
But if we've had a fortnight to prepare, we don't need the couple of extra days.
Exactly.
We don't need.
Makes it a hell of a long time
And
for
if
some of the players to go without a game.
And if they get the result, of course, if they got the 3 points, it would have tightened up the situation at the bottom. I think it's a huge game because it's a game where you can get 3 points in theory, where you wouldn't fancy that you're going to get 3 points, although we did it last year before you jump in against Man City. Because aren't they going to be smarting and wanting to get back in the title race after dropping what they did to Liverpool? So they're going to be a right handful.
What a game that was.
At our place. Oh, that was
fantastic game. Liverpool, Man City.
But so, I mean, I think it's absolutely critical to us. I mean, 3 of the next 4, Steve, if you take out Man City for the moment, we've got Aston Villa, Sheffield United, who are punching way above their weight, but as you say, you're wondering if they'll get dragged back in the second half of the season, and then Southampton. Now, they're the sort of sides, those 3, where you're looking for Newcastle to get something out of those matches.
Sure.
Current form, Aston Villa are coming into the game off the back of 3 defeats, albeit against Liverpool, Man City and Wolves.
Yeah, but it's still...
Newcastle are coming into the game on form.
Yes, I mean...
Back-to-back wins.
I would like Grealish to miss out again because he motivates them at home. He's been injured and he's been out of the side, and when he's playing in front of his home crowd, who would adore him, it can rub off. I mean, I can't see Newcastle getting beat, but I can't see Newcastle winning, and the only reason I can't see Newcastle winning is because it would be 3 on the trot, and that is nosebleed time. We had Newcastle winning 3 games off the belt. But I honestly go into the game optimistically, and if I was pushed, I may go for a 1-1 draw.
A 1-1 draw? Okay, how do you see it going now?
I watched Aston Villa in their last game, and I saw an awful lot of things that weren't right, and so I'm not surprised with the way their results have been going. Yeah, and I would hope that Steve Bruce has somebody who will send him a very, very good report, and he'll be able to watch the video of the last couple of Villa games, and I think the way Newcastle are playing at the moment. As long as they don't have that silly half an hour like they did at the beginning of the match against Bournemouth, I think that Newcastle, they can score goals. Aston Villa are struggling to do that at the moment. Newcastle are looking much more secure at the back, and Aston Villa, they were a bit all over the place. They're a bit stationary in their own penalty area. I think I don't see any reason why Newcastle can't go, keep Villa out, nick a goal, and I'll take Newcastle to win 1-0. I'm
going for a 2-0 win. I think Newcastle will win down there with two more defenders scoring goals.
Great place to play in Villa Park.
Kieran Clark, our top scorer, is an ex-Villa player.
Of course he is.
Yeah, he could do it again. Brucey's an ex-Villa manager.
He'll get a bit of stick. He'll get a bit of stick down there.
I mean, can you believe this? Steve Bruce is likely to be more popular with the Newcastle United fans at Villa than with the Villa fans.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because of the back-to-back wins and
Yes.
on kind of thing.
Yeah.
And congratulations to everybody at the club who didn't manage to mention our former manager last week, and I'm not going to mention him in tribute.
Who is that again?
Well, exactly. A couple of more points before we finish off. Durham says Dummett should be given the captaincy while Lascelles is out.
Yeah,
Fair
Again,
enough.
That's what I was
Malcolm
mentioning.
mentioned that. Stephen Walker's gone with a prediction. He says 2-1 to Newcastle against Villa.
Good.
Darren Woodmus again says, can't take Almiron out of the team like Supermax says. His work rate is second to none and brings a lot of things to the side. Hopefully goals will follow soon. John Moore said, should Almiron be dropped? And I suppose that we'll cover that a little
list
bit.
the things that he sees in Almiron.
I don't think this is the week to drop him because he played one of his best games against Bournemouth in terms of work rate,
yes.
and he's just scored for Paraguay tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't think this.
We've won back-to-back games.
But,
by the way, they won't drop him because he's been ever present without scoring this season. And
Exactly.
And Joe Linton's been ever present, so I don't think.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, and when you took us to win 1-0, do one of the front three scored Villa to stop this incredible run of, because we need that monkey off the back.
Michael Graham says Almiron will come good, honest. So I think on that note...
On that note, it's been an optimistic evening. We'll leave it at that.
Right.
I'll put the pink pig back in its box, and that's fine.
Yeah, I must tell you that,
Go on.
that when Newcastle scored their second goal, I looked around and I thought, is Dwight Gale on the pitch? Because Kieran Clark, he just took it in the same way that Dwight Gale does. And he just got his...
He scuffs them and all.
just got his toe to it, scuffed it in. But it's effective, John.
But
it's
Klopp
being
was
in the right
almost
place at the
embarrassed.
right time, getting the right touch.
Yeah.
He was almost,
Yeah.
The scuff was the right touch.
And I was looking around for Dwight Gale. And I was... And then
I tell you what,
of course
you've
he
got
turned
more,
round and it was
you've
Kieran
got more
Clark.
chance of seeing my pink pig than
Well,
Dwight Gale, because he hasn't been
could
spotted.
be right.
I mean, there's Shergar and Lord Lucan going down Northumberland Street's been spotted more than Dwight Gale has.
I know.
Well, a great show as always, lads. Thanks very much for your company, and thank you for your company as well. You've been tuned in NUFC Matters. Please subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, and you can always follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. But subscriptions to the YouTube channel do help us massively. We're going to play out with a band from Blackburn tonight who are managed by Alan McGee's creation label. They're called The Illicits.